Also, making sure that your information is 100% complete and up to date. So there might be information that's really old that I had online from something else, for instance, like my MySpace. I don't know if I ever disabled my account. But again, if I haven't disabled my account, I just haven't logged in 2 years, it's still up there. So there might be information about times I was going through where I was really depressed and didn't like life that are going to be misrepresenting myself from a social standpoint, let alone, you know, all sorts of other things that you might maybe used to do that now you don't do. But also just make sure it's 100%, and again, that kind of goes with the LinkedIn thing that we'll talk about, is you want to make sure that these profiles are complete, that they don't have like gaps if an employer is encouraged to look at it, for instance, like LinkedIn, that they don't have question marks of things that should be filled in. Like everything, there's an etiquette to follow. So kind of with this whole online thing, there's very much so an etiquette on how I use Facebook with my friends. The things, kind of like the 25 things you hate about Facebook. My friends would completely rip me apart if I was like sending gifts to everyone, poking and doing all those kinds of things, because that's the circle that I'm in. But also socially in general, there's kind of an etiquette on how you use Facebook. It's a social means, it's ways for me to connect with people. So when people start violating that by sending me spam, or putting, you know, spam stuff up on my account, I delete that stuff because it's like, hey, that's not what I'm here for. So there's obviously an etiquette on how you want to do that kind of stuff. And it's not something to fear, but just let it show the best sides of you. So again, it's the whole online brand, this whole kind of point isn't the fact that it's dangerous and you need to fix it and you need to change all those things. It's just being mindful of what you have out there and making sure that it's the best representation of you. Is really the point. So we have another kind of funny video to talk about some of the etiquettes of this one's talking about relationships on Facebook.
Meet Alice. She has just arrived home from a hard day at work. She switches on her computing machine and looks to see what her friends have been up to on Facebook, the electric friendship generator. First, she checks in to see what Timmy's been up to. Alice and Timmy have been going steady for 6 months, and she thinks he's a real swell guy. Alice hasn't spoken to Timmy since last evening and can't wait to see what his day was like. That's funny. At 2:05 this morning, Timmy changed his relationship status from in a relationship to single. Even more curious, he became friends with Donna Whitehouse at 2:07 a.m. Timmy just bungled rule number 1 of Facebook relationship etiquette. Don't change your relationship status without consulting the other person. What a dope. Alice decides there must be some sort of mistake, that Timmy she knows would never disregard her feelings this way. She sends him a note to see if it was a mistake. Alice waits, and waits, and waits. Alice is tired of waiting, so she decides to stick it to Timmy. She uploads and tags a few embarrassing photographs of Timmy. Timmy may have a hard time making new friends when they see that he likes to dress up in Alice's undergarments. Those photographs sure are funny, but Alice just broke Facebook relationship etiquette rule number 2. Don't post embarrassing photographs of other people. Shame on you, Alice. It's okay, Alice. We all make mistakes. It looks like Timmy has posted some messages on Alice's wall. I can't believe you posted those photos of me. Sorry for being such a square. Baby, are you there? By the way, it was just a regular rash. TMI, Timmy, you've just broken Facebook relationship etiquette rule number 3. Be discreet when posting messages on another person's wall. Alice doesn't take the bait. She removes Timmy's posts and tries to move on with her life. That's interesting. Timmy has been very busy on Facebook, making friends with all of Alice's friends. Who would want to be pals with a grody jody like Timmy? He has violated Facebook relationship rule number 4. Don't steal other people's friends. Cool it, Alice. No one's going to date you if you get frown lines. Alice is fed up, so she creates a group called Timmy Gordon's A Real Wet Blanket. According to the group's description, Timmy cries over spilled milk. Timmy buys things not made in the USA. Timmy wets the bed. And Timmy is a communist. Be careful, Alice. This is clearly in violation of Facebook relationship rule number 5. Don't start hate groups. Nothing good can come of this. What did I tell you, Alice? Timmy is in the slammer, and Alice is ashamed. All of this could have been avoided by following the simple rules of Facebook etiquette. Don't be bungleheads like Alice and Timmy. Have good Facebook manners, and the electric friendship generator will be more fun for everyone.
So yeah, it's not that dramatic.
Yeah,
But-
we could have
But I don't know. I stumbled across it and really liked it. One, just because it was like the 1950s, like instructional type video with the electric friendship generator, and it was like a typewriter plugged into a television. That was pretty funny. But it kind of illustrated, I think, some of the points we actually already made about like the groups that you're in not only just kind of those kinds of things that happen, but the people that are kind of able to see them. If I'm not going to post something because a friend of mine might see it in a specific situation, then also in general I need to be mindful of the other people that are going to see this if I'm searching for a job, if I'm looking for that kind of stuff. So it's just another thing to be mindful is kind of the point of it. But it kind of illustrates the idea of where there are these social etiquette things that we don't think about when it comes to how I use Facebook, or how I use my social media, or the things that are online that are out there that are about me. Let's go to the next one. I think the next one. What is this whole LinkedIn thing about? So here's your question. It's your professional profile online. So you ask for recommendations for people that you're connected with that are most likely going to be people that you worked with. Professionals, that even professors, things like that, like just professionals that you've been in contact with, either personally or professionally. But it's a way that you can kind of grow a network. It's a lot about, it shows your work history and the other person's work history, so it kind of just connects professional networks digitally is really what it does. So it has your work history, your network, there's actually job search things on there, and then a photo as well. The reason I put a photo up there, the thing about photos on there is that you want to make sure that you have a professional photo up there. You don't want to have like your Facebook one, which is like you going, what's up? You don't really want that. You want something that's just going to look professional. For instance, like Jen's. That's her work one here, but I mean, there's plenty of people that I could just be like, hey, I'm going to stand up against a brick wall. Can you just have a picture of me looking nice? Like, that's all I'm really looking for my LinkedIn profile. So there's a lot of useful portions to it, especially like the job searching and things like that, but it's just a nice way to have another positive piece of representation out there for you that's actually designed for you to be able to connect with the people that are in your lives professionally. It's everything you want people to see. So similar to your resume, which is I get to choose what's said on my resume, I get to choose the information, the job experiences, how it's organized. Very similar with LinkedIn, which we'll go to my profile in a second, but very similar to that, you're able to post the content on there. So I can complete the profile the way I want it to be completed. I can accentuate the experiences that I've had and limit other ones. It's a professional way to connect with friends and others. So again, I can be friends with someone on that, but then I can connect with a friend of mine's colleague that maybe I met one time and kind of speak professionally in that regard. And remember, it's not Facebook. Just like the social etiquette that we were kind of talking about before, there's etiquettes to the different groups that you're a part of, the different websites that you're on, and so this is no different. That you want to make sure that you're handling this one in a professional way. You're not constantly barraging people with messages. You can post comments and actually things now, which is a new feature on them, but you just want to make sure that you're mindful about how you're contacting people, and then we'll kind of take a look at my LinkedIn profile. So here's mine. This is actually one of my engagement pictures, but it was one that was taken with just me. So I was like, hey, it's a professional looking picture. I'll put it on there. It's me in a collared shirt. Here are all my various different work experiences that I have going on right now. It actually has past experiences. Here's my recommendations. You can click on those. And they're recommendations for people that I've worked for or worked with. So you can have ones that I worked with someone. They said, this person's a great teammate. I loved working with them. They had great ideas. They were the person I wanted to work with. And then there's also like bosses on there. They're like, this person does a great job. You know, they needed very little supervision, things like that. So it's just a way of really having your references online that they can say positive things about you. Your connections. So obviously it's just a list of all my friends. If the internet doesn't go too slow. So it's just a list of all my friends.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I had one person that contacted me, asked me to be on their LinkedIn network. I went ahead and was a part of that network. And because I didn't know what kind of, you know how like Facebook, if you know someone, you can contact them, and then you see their friends, and oh, I know that person, so you go kind of surfing.
So you were kind of unsure how they found you?
I wasn't unsure how it works, so I went ahead and accepted with that one, and then the next couple of ones that came on, I don't know if this person wants to be in contact with these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I didn't have these other people on my network because I don't know.
Yeah, it's not necessarily, it's not really like that. Like if I go to my connections, people can see my connections and you can't actually limit that. You can have a public profile or a closed out profile. So if you just want to have this on there so that things that I can use to contact professionals that I work with or something like that, you can do that. For people that are job searching, the recommendation is to leave it open. That way people can see that network that you have. They can see all the different people that you know. For instance, with this one right here, Nick Adler right here, this is the owner of the Roxy in downtown, in West Hollywood. He's someone that I've worked with for my photography things. I'm not ashamed that someone will see that because he's actually a very powerful person, and he's actually one of the nicest people I've ever met for what he does. But again, that's me. So they're able to see all of those different people. Some of these people are people that I graduated with from college. To answer part of your question about how people get friends. One of the main ways, you can search through networks and search for people individually and things like that. But actually one of the best ways to do that see, this is new. Share an update and kind of see what other people are doing. That's very new.
Well, I think she wanted me to be on her network for the prestige of the people that I work for. So the other people that had never met her, I was thinking, okay, now how do I explain this? I mean, it was more like, you know.
Yeah, and again, like in that list, they're only going to see who that person is and all this stuff. They don't necessarily have access to that person's profile.
They can't click on that and go into there.
It depends on their profile. If their profile is open, then they can. But again, that's that person's choice.
Okay.
But it's unless you're the word in this is always connected.
Okay.
That if you're connected with them, then you'll be able to see more on their profile. And a lot of times you can't. If I were to find someone, there's a link that says add this person to your network. That invitation would go out to that person. So that means it's a very much so more individual kind of process.
The problem that I had with this is I had, my employment listed, and I might have listed with somebody, a prior employment from years ago. I started getting headhunter calls or headhunter hits saying, wouldn't you want to work for these other people type thing? And it's like, geez. And then of course you start to worry if
they're seeing that, then who else is seeing it?
Yeah.
And again, that's where there are privacy settings about people. There's actually one, I believe, specifically to this, if I want to say right, that there's one specifically about I want to receive offers about job opportunities or things like that. So you can leave it open to I want people to be able to search me and connect with me and